This is Strictly Business, presented by the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Sponsored in part by the law offices of Young Wooldridge, San Joaquin Community Hospital.
And welcome back to Strictly Business. I'm Nathan Ollie, Manager of Government Affairs at the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce. Kern County is home to dozens of nonprofit organizations that work tirelessly for various causes in the community. However, many of them have concerns over where their funding will come from. And joining us now is Kristin Barnes, the new president and CEO of the Kern Community Foundation, and Rachel Evey, coordinator of development and donor services of Kern Community Foundation. And they're here to explain a new partnership they've developed. So thank you, ladies, for being here.
Thank you.
So first off, let's get real close to the mic so everybody can hear you. Okay, thanks. Just give us a quick overview of what the Kern Community Foundation is, and for those that aren't aware of what's going on.
So the Kern Community Foundation it's a really thriving and vibrant nonprofit enterprise with a really simple mission statement, and that is growing community and growing philanthropy. We're 15 years old. Mm-hmm. We have about $19 million in assets from about 120 donor funds. And we have, in the course of 15 years, granted out $13 million to the community.
Outstanding.
Last year alone, $3 million.
Wow.
Two things that we really focus on. One, to serve donors who want to give back to the community, and that's a given. But I think the second piece is something that we're not as well known for, and that is really generating the capital. Mm-hmm. And when we say capital, it's both dollars and knowledge to really drive nonprofit and philanthropy in Kern County so that we all know a thriving philanthropy community is a good place to live and work.
As you mentioned, it is a community with a real giving heart. Explain to us, if you would, why it's important for a nonprofit to have sustainability as they move forward.
So we have been we've focused a lot of our endeavors over the last few years on really bringing the nonprofit community together and wanting to support them. And we've done a lot of data mining, if you will. And through the course of that data mining, we came up with some pretty startling statistics. 4 out of 5 of our local nonprofits do not have any kind of reserves built.
Oh, wow.
And the other piece that's really important to recognize is without those reserves, how are they going to keep their doors open?
Sure.
So the board decided collectively that this was going to be one of our strategic initiatives, is to really work to support them. And Rachel has done a phenomenal job reaching out and has gotten some tremendous response. And I'll let her tell a little bit about that.
Okay. So, Rachel, what is the Nonprofit Endowment Partnership?
So we developed the Nonprofit Endowment Partnership as a new program under our Nonprofit Sustainability Initiative. As Kristin mentioned, the majority of nonprofits in our community don't have reserves, and through our data collection on our nonprofit search, which is powered by GuideStar, we found that 90% of them don't even have 12-month savings on their books. So these nonprofits in our community, which are extremely crucial because some of them are the only ones offering their types of services to our residents and citizens, they're surviving month to month or year to year. So as a part of our sustainability initiative, we really wanted to help them become more established. That way they're around forever. So the Nonprofit Endowment Partnership is designed for nonprofits in our community to partner with the foundation. That way we can help them create and grow an endowment fund. And an endowment fund is a permanent pool of resources that provides annual revenue to a nonprofit organization. So this means they can spend less time fundraising and focusing more on their programs. It means they have to spend fewer donated dollars on their operations, and those dollars can go directly to their programs and services. So it's kind of a win-win for the nonprofit and their donors and even the people they serve.
Oh, terrific. So they can spend more time focusing on their mission and not constantly chasing the dollars. Oh, that's great.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned that this was a strategic initiative of your board. Why did they see this need to create the partnership?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, one of our real key drivers at the foundation is to support nonprofits. And as we developed the data and we looked, it just simply wasn't acceptable to us that they were living basically paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
And so we just felt that this is one step. We've spent the last few years working with nonprofits on things like their accountability and making sure that they have filed all of their reports timely and that they're, vetted through the process. And you can find them all either on our website or you can find them in our giving guide.
Okay.
So we've been not necessarily the watchdog, but just really wanting them to, helping them along and supporting them. And what we find too is that our nonprofits run the gamut. We have some that are incredibly sophisticated, and so the term endowment is nothing new to them. Perhaps they aren't as far along in the process, and so the hand-holding that goes with that is a little bit different. But then we have some that just opened last month, or maybe 6 months ago.
Just got that determination letter from the IRS.
Correct. And so we just, we're providing those supports as well.
Well, and it's good that you mentioned, walking them through the paperwork process, because a nonprofit status is something that can be revoked if you don't keep all your ducks in a row with the IRS. So that certainly don't want that to happen. So it's nice to have somebody kind of looking out for them. So how can a nonprofit participate in this program?
So we're actually launching the program tomorrow at an orientation in the morning, and organizations that want to participate in the program do need to come to the orientation tomorrow, and the information for that can be found by reaching out to me. My contact information is on our website. And to test this program out, we did have a pilot group of 3 nonprofit organizations that sort of tested the system and the application, and they're coming along very strongly. We've already received sort of a healthy response from the nonprofit community that's interested in this, because sustainability is such a huge issue to their organization and especially their board of directors, because they want to be around to serve the community forever. So we've got 29 organizations coming tomorrow right now.
Outstanding.
So I think that speaks really highly of the interest.
Definitely.
And I think the other piece that's interesting that Rachel didn't mention, she's done a great job in recruiting those people, but it's not just maybe the executive director of a local nonprofit sending 2 staff people, but we're seeing the executive director along with the board chair coming tomorrow.
Well, and that's so key, is having work. The chamber's a nonprofit. I mean, it's not a C3 designation, but it is. The chamber's a nonprofit as well, and getting that buy-in with the board and the volunteers and the staff makes all the difference in the world. So you mentioned that the program launches tomorrow. What's the timeline look like? What do we look like as far as getting some dollars in place?
So the program does launch tomorrow, and that's when the application will be available to these nonprofit organizations to apply. And then the application's due at the end of June, and then our organizations in the partnership program will be selecting up to 9, and the 3 that were in the pilot will be participating as well. Those organizations will be selected in July, and this program is actually long term. It's going to last until the end of 2017, and at that time we'll likely select a second cohort of organizations. But we're really focusing and delving deep into the sustainability issue for these organizations, because we want to make sure they have a strong platform to build upon, and so that's why it is a longer program.
Okay. And what we've talked about sustainability, but talk a little bit more, if you would, about the overall goal. How much are we trying to get to these organizations? What is the end result for the organization itself?
So the end result for the organization itself would be total sustainability through their endowment fund, this permanent pool of resources for their operations. For example, one of the pilot organizations is Links for Life. They're a local nonprofit. They focus on breast cancer awareness and assist local women and men in being diagnosed or checked for breast cancer. And they have had a nonprofit endowment for about 2 years now, and their goal is to reach $5 million, because that would completely sustain their operations, which means 100% of those fundraising dollars would go directly to their programs and services. So it depends on the nonprofit and what they want to focus on, but most of them want to reach an endowment size that would completely sustain their operations. So they wouldn't have to worry about paychecks, they wouldn't have to worry about rent, they wouldn't have to worry about office supplies or fundraising costs even.
Well, and as you mentioned, I think it probably provides some peace of mind for a donor. Like if you're donating to a very worthy cause like that you know that your dollars are going directly to
Sure.
sort of the mission of the organization. So that's outstanding.
Exactly.
So how can our audience get involved? Who can they contact for more information?
So for nonprofit organizations, they can reach out to me. If a donor wants to get involved, if they have a cause they're really passionate about, like the arts or human services, or even an organization they're passionate about, they can also contact me. We not only offer endowments to nonprofit organizations, but also to individual donors. One story I always enjoy telling is the Bryce and Florence York Family Fund. This family was very passionate about our local museum of art, and they wanted to do something permanent for them. So through some outright gifts and some gifts from their estate, they actually established an endowment for the Museum of Art. And now the museum receives a check every single year for about $5,000 to $6,000 from this fund. So this York family is supporting the museum past their lifespan into the future.
In perpetuity. That's
In
outstanding.
perpetuity, yes.
Okay.
I think the key too is that the endowment process isn't a one size fits all. It really will take on the spirit of the nonprofit, and we'll see a continuum of these dozen that we're initially working with. There will be some that we'll need to go back and explain and do a lot of educating on just what this looks like, whereas others, like Links for Life, they're a little bit farther in the process.
Sure.
But they're getting a tremendous amount of resources, a lot of hand-holding from Rachel and our staff at the foundation. They're actually getting a wonderful toolkit, if you will. Things as simple as a script for how do you actually go and ask, and what's the language that you use to describe this endowment process. So I think it really has some tremendous potential for impacting these groups.
Well, that's outstanding. What again the website for Kern Community Foundation so people can learn more about it?
It's kernfoundation.org, and
Okay.
there they can read up on these nonprofits that have proved their accountability and transparency. They can view some endowment stories, such as the donors that I get to work with, which is one of my favorite parts
Sure.
of my job. So there's a lot of information on there.
All right. Kristin Barnes, Rachel Evey, thank you so much for coming in today and talking a little bit about the Kern Community Foundation and how our community can get involved and really help some great causes. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this with more Strictly Business. Stay tuned.